Hey, this is Brian with worshiptutorials.com. Welcome back to our beginner guitar lesson course. This lesson is going to focus on how to tune your guitar, and I feel like this is maybe one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn as a guitar player, because literally every time you play guitar, it is important that the first thing you do before you start playing is tune it, because this is a guitar that's in tune. And if you just move one of these strings just a little bit out of tune, it sounds like this. That is bad. You do not want that to happen. So we're going to talk about how to tune your guitar. Now, the first thing that I always like to do if I have a guitar and it's never been tuned or it's way out of tune, I like to find something that has a reference point. So you can use this video as a reference point. This is an E. And if you remember, we learned our string names a few lessons back, and this is why it's so important to learn these string names. You're going to need to know them when you go to tune your guitar. So here's an E, here's an A, here's a D, here's a G, here's a B, and that one's out of tune. There's a B, and there's an E. And now the guitar is back in tune. So there are a couple ways that you can tune a guitar. I'm going to show you both the mechanics that you use on the tuning pegs, how to tune it, and what you use, because you have to use something to listen to your guitar and monitor it. Now you can go find an E tone and just match it by ear, and certainly that's one way to do it. But the most effective and accurate way is to use a tuner. So I'm going to show you right up here two versions of a tuner. Tuners kind of come in various shapes and sizes, but what you see most is a pedal like the Polytune. That's the pedal with the button on it. The other thing you're looking at is my phone, and I would say that's probably the most used tuner I have is the Polytune app on my phone. You might notice I'm a big fan of TC Electronic. I think they make awesome stuff, and I don't believe that Polytune app was free. I think it might have been $3, but I really like it. It's just as accurate as the pedal version, which I am going to demonstrate for you in just a moment. And I like it. It's reliable and accurate. Now you can get free tuning apps on your phone, and those work just fine. But I like the Polytune app because I'm used to the interface. You might see a lot of green stuff floating around. It's picking up tone in my voice. I'm just going to focus on tuning a single string. And now the first string that I always tune is the low E string. Now your strings have, and I'm going to show you a close-up of the headstock here. The headstock has these tuning pegs on them. The low E string goes to this tuning peg right here. So if you notice, if you turn it, it changes pitch. And that pitch gets lower when you turn it this way, which would kind of be toward you, and it goes higher if you turn it the other way, if that's away from you, if you've strung your guitar properly, which we'll talk about that in the next lesson. Okay, so you always want to tune from low into the pitch. So if you remember, we're tuning this low string is an E, and it just works like the alphabet. So the note below E is D, A, B, C, D, E. Now on the tuner, you're going to see it's on an E. As I go lower, it tells me it's D sharp. Sharps and flats are sort of like notes in between. So you've got the A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Now in between those notes are sharps and flats. Not all of the notes have sharps and flats in between them. That's a music theory, and that's for a different lesson. Okay, so you notice as I go from E down, I hit D sharp. As I go from D sharp down, I hit D. And so what you want to do is tune from low to high into an E. So if you're at a D, so if you strum your guitar and you've got or pluck your E string and you've got it on, it's lower than E, you'll see D, D sharp, and you just want to work your way up into E. So a couple notes. What you want to do is you want to pluck the string with one hand and turn it with the other. You don't want to do this and then turn and then turn. You always want to turn the tuning peg while the string is playing. That way you can see where it is going. Again, if it's sharp, if it's above the note, again, sharp is above, flat is below. Sharp is higher, flat is lower. So if it's sharp, you see the needle is on the right of the E. So you want to turn it so it's down, but you always want to kind of go a little below and then back into E, and that will help your tuning stability. So you do that for each string. So your E is in tune. A, you notice when I plucked it, I moved it so it was a little bit below, and then it went right and it locked onto A. D is the same way. E, A, D. The next one is G. There it is. Next one is B. My B was a little sharp. So you just slightly so it comes in. And then again on a high E. Now one thing to note is if your guitar is really out of tune, and you tune the low E and it gets in tune, you tune the low A, and so forth, all the way up. Say it's really, everything is flat. As you tune all the strings, you're turning them all tighter, basically. You're making the strings tighter, you're lengthening the string. It's gonna put more tension overall on the neck. So if the guitar is very out of tune and you put it into tune, you might go back, because what that does is it actually kind of bends the neck a little bit, which will shorten your strings back up a little bit. So you might wanna go back and check the low E again. So you can see that all of my strings are in tune, and if I play a chord, the guitar is in tune. Okay, a few more notes about tuning a guitar. You don't want to turn these tuning pegs a lot. A little bit goes a long way. Some tuning pegs are made better than others, and they have a higher gear ratio. So what that means is you have to turn them more to get the same amount of turn on the peg. It's kind of like if you have a bike with different speeds. If you have a low speed, you don't have to turn the wheel as much to get the wheels to go. If you have a high speed or a high ratio, you got to turn that wheel a lot to make your wheels go. It's the same sort of concept with the tuning pegs. Some tuning pegs have a lower ratio, some have a higher ratio. The ones with a higher ratio are more accurate because you can, there's more play in how much you turn them, so you can make smaller increments as you tune the string. But if yours doesn't have a high ratio, it's nothing to worry about. You tune it exactly the same way. So again, you pluck the string, you move the peg while the string is playing. You never want to mute it and then move it, because you don't know where you're going. And there we go, we're back in tune with an E. And you don't move it very much. And if your guitar is way out of tune, find a reference note. If you have another guitar, another way you can do it is if you look up just guitar tuning video on YouTube. I've done this before. There are a couple videos where it's just notes. Just the E. Just the A. And that video has hundreds of thousands of views. And I wish I made it, because it would be cool to have all those views on a video where all you did literally was just... But I was a smart person that made that video, and it's a good reference point if you're doing it. I'm going to show you another method to tune your guitar, and it's called tuning it to itself. To do this, you need your low E string to be in tune, and you need to have a good ear. So what you do is you play your low E string open, and let's say it's in tune. So what you do is you fret the low E string on the 5th fret and play it. And that is an A. So if you look at the tuner, it's showing an A. The phone is having a hard time picking it up because it's using the microphone, whereas the pedal, I'm running into the pedal. So you hit the low E, you fret it on the 5th fret, that's an A. So the A string right below it should be exactly the same note. You hear them? They're the same. Now if it's a little off, I'm going to put it a little out of tune. If I pluck the low E on the 5th fret, it's an A. That's a little bit flat, so I want to make it higher. It's a little harder to do this one because you either have to pluck it and then move it with this hand. Or you just kind of have to remember where that note was, because once you leave this hand, you're going to lose that A string from the low E, or that A note from the low E. And again, always go low to high. It's easier to hear that way as well. So that A is in tune, okay? So now on the A string, you pluck it on the 5th fret. And that's a D, and it should be the same note as the D below it. Okay? D string, 5th fret is a G, and it's the same as the G below it. Oops. They're the same note. Okay, when you get to the G string, it's a little bit different because you have to pluck it on the 4th fret to play a B note. So on this G string, you have to do the 4th fret. Pluck it, and then the B below it should be the same note. Okay, so I was a little low, so I wanted to make it a little sharper. And now that B is in tune, and then on the B string, it's back to the 5th fret, and that's an E. I think my B is still a little flat, or a little sharp, actually. That's exactly the same note. Okay, and then for the B string, it's the 5th fret, and that's an E. Now it's in tune, and it's in tune. So tuning a guitar to itself is a quick and dirty way to tune. You have to make sure that at least your low E string, or one of your strings, is in tune to do this. But again, it's just E on the 5th fret, A on the 5th fret, D on the 5th fret, G on the 4th fret, and B on the 5th fret. And then your high E string is just tuned to that E from the B string. Okay, so that is how to tune your guitar. It kind of comes with a lot of practice, especially when you learn to tune it to itself. You really have to get good at hearing those notes when they're sharp, when they're flat. So a good exercise might be just to kind of train your ear. Is that sharp? Is that flat? I have a lot of fun. I have a 2-year-old, and I'm trying to teach him when a note is sharp or flat, and he's kind of getting it down. If he hears it's a little bit higher, he can say it's sharp, or a little lower, it's flat. So my goal for him is to be a better guitar player than I am by about the age of 3. So I think we're getting close, but we'll find out what happens with him. Okay, so again, you can get tuning apps on your phone. You can get a pedal. You can buy little tuners that work exactly like the app on your phone. It just has a little microphone in it, and they're about $10 or $15 from any Guitar Center. Or you can probably get them at like a Walmart or a Best Buy or a Target, where you can buy those you can buy the First Act guitars by Adam Levine at Target. I don't necessarily recommend one of those guitars, but they probably have a tuner there that would work for you. And you just hold them up to the sound hole of your acoustic guitar, and it'll listen to it, and it'll tell you. And usually they have a needle. When the needle is to the left, it's flat. When the needle is to the right, it is sharp. So there are other kind of tuners on the market, and this video is not going to go into all those. But that's just the basics on how to use a tuner, how to tune your guitar to itself. Make sure that you tune before every single time you play the guitar. There's nothing worse than a guitar that is out of tune. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for checking out this video lesson series. If you are on YouTube, please head to worshiptutorials.com and sign up for the course. It's completely free. It'll walk you through step 1 all the way to playing a song, having never picked up a guitar before, to playing a complete song. And it'll walk you through the whole way. You can track your progress, and it doesn't cost you a cent. I will never charge for any of that stuff for you. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye.